there are people who sometimes come to classes, and they constantly ask me this question: how can I know if my nervousness to talk, if my shyness, if my constant sense of guilt comes from unresolved issues on my childhood, or actually come from unresolved things that they lived before in previous incarnations? What would you tell them?
Well, I would say that all of your conflicts come from part of the evolution of your soul. They always come from other incarnations, from other lifetimes. And the reason that they come up in this lifetime is that you have come into body in order to balance them, in order to evolve and to go on from them. So they cannot stop you. And if you realize that they are part of your growth, they will not block you. All shyness, all conflicts come from these spiritual levels. They do. And they are simply echoed through your body because your body is your vehicle. And that's why we use the body as the point of reference. If you're looking at a lifetime, where are you holding the shyness that you had in that lifetime? Maybe in that lifetime you were the opposite. You were so angry and violent and visible that you hurt yourself and others. So in this lifetime you're tiptoeing around because you're afraid that that will come up. And the way that you heal that is that you look at it and release it. It's the releasing. That's what's so important about our sense of self. It's not holding on to something that you imprinted in your childhood, but dissolving all of those points of reference so that the pure energy can come into you and you can reinvent who you are every day, how you relate to your family, how you are visible in the world. It's always the power of your own choice. So I would say to people, don't try to think about it. Don't try to change your life by thinking. A great man once said that understanding is the booby prize. You can understand everything and it won't change anything. That's why spiritual recognition is so important. Not just understanding, but changing the energy. As you do that, your body will become healthy, and you will be your own inner healer.
Is there any practical route to constantly experience high self-esteem? How can we constantly think high of ourselves?
Not by evaluating it, not by saying, okay, I'm okay, I'm a good guy, but actually energetically contacting that. And that's why these exercises in consciousness are so important. Everyone can do them. Where am I holding a positive sense of self at this moment? At this moment. Because it'll be in a different place each time. And maybe you hear in my hand. Good. Then bring your awareness into your hands and feel as if you're contacting that point of reference of feeling good about yourself. Feel the energy. And as you do that, and then let that flow through your body, as you do that, whether you're touching your child or you're being a physical healer or you're knitting something or you're making food, your energy in your hands, which is holding this positive sense of self, will exude out from you. And that makes a difference. It changes you and it changes the world.
Do you think that self-esteem is something measurable? How can we measure it in our lives?
No. Well, I think it can be measured in an energetic way. In other words, it's easy to measure it. At this moment, are you peaceful? Do you laugh? Do you applaud yourself? Do you allow yourself to say, that was well done, oh, Luciana? Do you say that to yourself? If you do, you have a good self-esteem. If there's a voice inside that says that's not good enough, oh, I should have done the other, then your self-esteem is low at that moment. Remember that your self-esteem moves up and down through your own judgment of your experiences in life. So to measure it as if you were measuring your blood pressure is basically absurd. You can know at any moment whether you are in your center and whether you are using the power of a positive sense of self, a positive self-esteem is very easy. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about yourself at any moment? And again, when you allow yourself to be visible and you look out at your family or on the street or strangers and you can you are courageous enough to put your attention on them, then you automatically trust yourself. You automatically have a powerful sense of good self-esteem.
When you talk about trust, do you think that faith plays an important role in our self-esteem development?
Yes, but I would say faith is a different thing. In terms of self-esteem, when we say the word faith, we usually mean that we feel we have faith because we trust God. What we need to understand or to experience is that the divine source, God, is within you. And so the faith that you want to have is in the self, in that you are carrying within your body the energy of the divine source of the cosmos, that God is within you. Many years ago, my higher self gave me a teaching, and it said, God grows through you. That means that God evolves, and that through each of your experiences and thoughts and illuminations, you expand and allow the divine source to evolve. And so, of course, it is within you. But the faith usually means faith in something outside you. Faith that God will take care of you, that God will make it okay, that God will forgive you. And so all of those points of reference are external. So I would say that true self-esteem is holding that divine energy inside you. One of the exercises I used to give my students was to go out and walk in the street and walk as if you were divine, because you are. Walk as if you were had the Christed energy. Walk as if you were carrying God within you. And people will relate to you very differently. Not I have it and you don't have it. It's simply a truth. I can be this. I am this.
So what would you say to people who don't believe in God?
I would say it's irrelevant. But that's, again, the conversations that we have about belief, about faith, are not really very useful in changing ourselves or changing the world. I would never get into that. That's all right. Certainly you must have a sense of self. You're in a body. You live and die. If you think that when you die that's the end, that's all right. As we experience, we learn new things. You asked me in the beginning how I came onto this path. One of the most important experiences I had in my life as a Peace Corps volunteer in El Salvador was holding a lot of babies that died in my arms. And so that allowed me to recognize that life and death are great teachings. So we don't have to worry about, what we think. Not really. It doesn't matter. It doesn't separate us from those who think that there's a God, who thinks that my God is different than you, God. None of that is very, very important. What's important is that we find a place that we can trust inside ourselves, and we can look out at the enemy, and we can look at the person who's different from us, and we can find that sense of connection. And when we have that, then we have the strength of true sense of self, of true self-esteem. And we can see that in another. If you hold that in yourself and you hold that another person is good, then everything will be all right. And all the conversations about what is true and what is not true are irrelevant. That's why my higher self says that truth is what we experience, and it changes as we experience and grow through our lives.
So what role do you feel ego plays on our self-esteem development?
We have a perspective. We use the word ego as if it meant the part of us that protects us or defends us. And so spiritually we think of ego in a negative way. But I would say the opposite. And I studied psychology when I was young, and I saw that psychology didn't take us through the ultimate truth. And that's how I came to the work that I use today. And so what I would say is that the ego self is important. It's important to acknowledge, talk about self-esteem, that you acknowledge that you are here. Your name is Luciana, and that you are here. And because you know your name, you can find your purpose, and therefore you can feel good about yourself. You can be a part of the world. When the ego is only the external part of the emotional body. It's just the outside crust that defends, that protects, that wants to win the battle, that wants to be visible, that wants to be loved. But if you allow the ego to connect with your spiritual self, with your true self, the ego then becomes a part that supports you. I am individuated. I have my name, and I have my qualities, and I use them. Therefore, the ego is useful. And having been around a lot of spiritual masters, quote unquote, in my life, I've noticed that they all still have ego. And that's all right. That's all right. It's just how we use ego. Just remember that the ego is only the outside of your emotional body. The emotional body functions through association and conclusion. So what is your conclusion of yourself? What is your thought form about yourself? Hopefully it is, I am loving, I care about others, I am intelligent, I am happy, I am healthy. Those are the kinds of conclusions and associations that we need in order to have a positive self-esteem.
So what are the benefits of living with a high self-esteem?
The benefits of the higher self-esteem is that if you're happy, the people around you are happy. If you trust yourself, others will trust you. So instead of looking for yourself in the mirror of others, you find yourself within you, within your own higher self, within your own body, and that is reflected out to others, and then they can see themselves in a more positive light. So a high self-esteem allows you to be visible. It allows you to connect, and all humans want to connect with each other. It allows you to feel that you have a place in the cosmos and in your life, so that there's nothing that you do or feel that's too small. You don't have to be a big, important person to have a high self-esteem. You just have to be peaceful and happy.
There are so many benefits. Why do you think it is so difficult for us nowadays to live with a high self-esteem?
Because we've never been taught how to use it. We've never been taught how to find our self-esteem. Everything we've been taught is against self-esteem. Don't have an ego. Don't think yourself good. Don't think yourself worthy of God. Everything that we've been taught pushes us down and says you don't have the right to feel good about yourself. That's just selfish. If you focus on yourself, you're selfish. These are the kinds of teachings that we've had. So it's a new time on this planet, and that's why this theme is so important, beginning this new year, is to say, let me feel good about myself. Let me teach my children to have a good self-esteem. Let us all learn patience and compassion and empathy and love and expansion. And so it's a new teachings, and that's why your inner healer program is so very important. We want to practice a high self-esteem. Again, I wouldn't use the word high self-esteem. I would just say a positive sense of self. When you feel a sense that you are a good person and you can trust that, that changes the world and gives you purpose. So it's not what you do, it's who you are.